Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Bhalabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjanam Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Kantara Śrimad Bhagāvatam ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we continue reading from Śrimad Bhagāvatam. This is first canto, creation, and this is
Chapter 5.
Chapter 5, Narada's instructions on Śrimad Bhagāvatam, text 12, right?
Yes. 我哋今日繼續閱讀聖典博迦談第一篇創造咯，第5章。Narada Muni 就聖典博迦談給 Vyasadeva 嘅指示嘅第12節。
Naishkarmyam
Nashkamyam
api
api
Achyuta Bhava Vajitam Naishkarmyam api achyuta bhava vajitam Naishkarmyam api achyuta bhava vajitam Na Shobhate Jnanam Alam Niranjanam Na Shobhate Jnanam Alam Niranjanam Kuta Puna Shashvat Abhadram Ishvare Kuta Puna Shashvat Abhadram Ishvare
Kunta Puna Saswat Abhadram Ishvare Na
Arpitam Cha Arpitam Karma Yatapi Akaranam Nacharpitam Karma Yadapi Akaranam Naishkarmyam api achyuta bhava vajitam Nashobhate jnanalam niranjanam Kuta puna shashvada badram ishvare Nacharpitam karma yadapi akaranam And to read
Naishkarmyam pyachyuta bhavavarjitam
Naishkarmyam api achyuta bhavavarjitam
Nashobhate jnanamalam niranjanam
Nashobhate jnanamalam niranjanam
Kunta Puna Saswata
Bhadram Ishvare Nacharpitam karma yadyapi akaranam Naishkarmyam api achyuta bhava vajitam Nashobhate jnanam alam niranjanam Kuta puna shashvada badram ishvare Nacharpitam karma yadyapi akaranam
Naischaryam apyachuta bhavarajitam
Naiskarmyam api achyuta bhava vajitam
Nasobrate jnanam alam niranjanam
Nashobhate jnanam alam niranjanam
Kuta puna saswata bhadram isvare
Kuta puna shashvada badram ishvare
Nachapitam kama yadapya Charanam
Nacharpitam karma yadapi akaranam Naishkarmyam self-realization, being freed from the reactions of fruitive work.
being freed from the reactions of fruitive work. 自我覺悟擺脫功利性活動嘅報應。
Api
in spite of 雖然
Achyuta
Achyuta
the infallible Lord
永不墜落永不犯錯嘅至尊主。
Bhava conception
概念
Vajitam devoid of
缺乏
Na does not
並不
Shobhate look well
看好
Jnanam transcendental knowledge
超然嘅知識
Alam by and by
逐次
Niranjanam free from designations
毫無物質概念污染
Kuta where is
哪裏有
Puna again
再次
Shashvat always
總是
Abhadram uncongenial
要不得的、不吉祥的。
Ishvare
Ishvare
unto the Lord.
向至尊主
Na
那
not
不
cha and
和
arpitam offered.
供奉
Karma
卡嘛
fruitive work.
功利性活動。
Yatapi
日特別
what is
什麼事
akaranam
Acharana
not fruitive.
非業報性的。
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada.
在
Knowledge of self-realization, even though free from all material affinity, does not look well if devoid of a conception of the infallible God. What then is the use of fruitive activities which are naturally painful from the very beginning and transient by nature, if they are not utilized for the devotional service of the Lord?
譯文為要旨由聖巴帕提供。譯文有關覺悟自我嘅知識，如果不含永不墜落者神嘅概念，即使毫無物質性嘅內容也不好看，更不要說功利性活動了。這種本性短暫，一開始從事就會引起痛苦嘅活動，如果不用來為至尊主做服務，又有什麼用呢？
Purport. As referred above, not only ordinary literatures devoid of the transcendental glorification of the Lord are condemned, but also Vedic literatures and speculation on a subject of impersonal Brahman when they are devoid of devotional service. When speculation on impersonal Brahman is condemned on the above ground, then what to speak of ordinary fruitive work which is not meant to fulfill the aim of devotional service? Such speculative knowledge and fruitive work cannot lead one to the goal of perfection. Fruitive work, in which almost all people in general are engaged, is always painful either in the beginning or at the end. It can be fruitful only when made subservient to the devotional service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita also it is confirmed that the result of such fruitive work may be offered for the service of the Lord, otherwise it leads to material bondage. The bona fide enjoyer of the fruitive work is the personality of Godhead, and thus when it is engaged for the sense gratification of the living beings, it becomes an acute source of trouble.
要指如上所述，不僅那些不談至尊主超然榮耀嘅普通文學作品受到譴責，就連不談奉愛服務而只推測非人格 Brahman 嘅偉大文獻也受到譴責。根據這節詩中提出嘅理由，就連對至尊主不具人格特徵嘅梵光進行思辨都受到譴責，更何談不是以奉愛服務為目標嘅普通嘅功利性活動呢？這種思辨性嘅知識和功利性活動不能引人到達完美嘅目的地。絕大多數世人所從事嘅功利性活動，從開始從事那一刻到結束，始終會引起痛苦。唯有用它來為至尊主做奉愛服務，才能有良好嘅收益。博家梵歌中證實這一點說，要把功利性活動嘅結果貢獻出來為至尊主服務，否則它將導致物質束縛。功利性活動真正嘅享受者是人格守神，因此當生物為了感官享樂去從事它時，它就會造成嚴重煩惱嘅根源。
Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We are okay with the sunshine, Prabhu. We are okay. It's good sunshine in the morning.
Just typical.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prasharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashata Deshatarine Panchakalpatarubhya cha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitana pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yeah, sun in the morning is very good.
朝早嘅
Especially early
陽
in the
光，
morning on winter time is very good.
冬日嘅朝早嘅清晨嘅朝早嘅陽光係非常之温暖，好舒服嘅。
So here we already on text 12 in this chapter, Narada Muni is addressing the despondency, the dissatisfaction that Srila Vyasadeva was experiencing after having compiled such a vast work of literature, so much knowledge, so much work, such a vast work, still he was feeling dissatisfied. So Narada Muni is addressing his
Narada Muni 咧就係對 Vyasadeva 佢雖然咧係已經編寫咗個非常之偉大嘅文獻嚇，入邊包含咗好多嘅知識，係非常之偉大嘅巨大嘅一個工作。但係咧雖然佢已經完成呢樣嘢啦，但係佢仍然咧係得唔到滿足。咁 Narada Muni 咧喺度咧就係講解呢一樣嘢。
And as Srila Prabhupada in the purport, this is not only ordinary literatures were devoid of any transcendental glorification of Krishna, but also Vedic literatures who do not glorify the Supreme Lord are not really very important or very interesting.
咁喺呢度咧，喺個要旨入邊嘅聖巴巴就講到啦，唔單單係嗰啲咧係普通嘅文學作品，佢哋冇去榮耀至尊主啦，甚至連一啲偉大嘅文獻咧，但入邊咧係都冇直接去榮耀至尊主嘅話咧，呢啲咧其實咧都係一啲都唔有趣嘅文獻嚟嘅。
But how can we say that? How can you say that Vedic literature presents knowledge that is not so relevant?
咁我哋點解會話咧？雖然呢啲偉大文獻係入邊包含到好多知識啦，但係仍然係對我哋冇關係嘅咧。
The Vedas emanate from the Supreme Lord Himself.
偉大文獻咧係由至尊主嗰度咧係顯現出嚟嘅。
But in the Vedas, what's the problem with the Vedas? At least for us, inhabitants of Kali Yuga, is that the Vedas prescribe an approach that is very slow, approach to the absolute truth that is very slow.
咁但係究竟偉大文獻喺呢個卡利年代有啲咩問題呢？就係咧，偉大文獻佢哋所用嘅方法去接近至尊主咧，呢個方法係非常之緩慢嘅。
And we are very slow learners.
而我哋咧嘅學習咧亦都係非常之緩
And we have
慢。
a very short duration of life.
我哋咧嘅生命好短暫。
So, you see, more than 90% of the Vedas deal with the subject matter of fruitive work.
咁咧其實偉大文獻咧有90%咧都係咧講係關於一啲功利性活動嘅嘢。
Why is that?
點解會咁樣呢？
Well, because more than 90% of people in this world are attracted to fruitive work.
因為咧喺呢個世界入邊咧，超過90%人咧，佢哋咧都係俾啲功利性活動所吸引。
They want to enjoy the results of their work.
佢哋咧想享受佢哋工作活動嘅成果。
So the Vedas are there to help people to perform proper work.
咁所以咧，偉大文獻咧喺度咧就係幫助一啲人咧能夠好正確咁樣去活動。
Because if they are left with any guidance to perform work, and it's what we see now in modern civilization, people get involved in many horrible sinful activities.
咁如果冇呢啲嘅指導嘅話咧，喺現今我哋見到現今嘅世代嘅呢個年代入邊咧，好多人咧佢哋冇指導之下，佢哋從事呢啲活動咧就會做咗好多咧係非常之罪惡嘅活動。
They got a human form of life,
佢哋咧得到人嘅呢一個嘅形象嘅生命啦。
which is very special very special form
咁
of
人
life.
嘅呢一個形象嘅生命咧係非常之特別嘅。
Is the only form that allows the living entity, the jiva soul, to awaken to his original consciousness.
咁呢個咧係唯一嘅形象，能夠令到呢一個個體靈魂咧，能夠咧喚醒佢自己呢一個真正嘅靈魂嘅呢一個嘅本質。
But they use their human forms like they use the animal forms before.
但係咧，人咧就會用佢，好多人咧就會用呢個人嘅形象咧，就好似動物咁樣咧去生活。
Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending.
就好似動物啦，淨係會食啦、交配啦、防衞啦，同埋瞓覺。
Well, if it was just that, it would be not so bad.
咁如果淨係咁樣都唔係太差嘅。
The problem is that besides this, they do many horrible activities.
咁但係除咗呢啲之外咧，人會做好多咧非常恐怖嘅活動。
And in satisfying these four major needs, they engage in activities that are very, very sinful.
咁為咗滿足佢哋嘅慾望啦，佢哋咧就會做好多咧，從事好多非常之罪惡性嘅活動。
So the Vedas are there to give an opportunity for people who are still addicted to fruitive activities to at least do activities that elevate them gradually.
咁所以咧，偉達嘅文獻就喺度咧，就幫助呢啲咧仍然依附物質功利性活動嘅人咧，能夠逐步咁樣咧係遠離呢一啲罪惡嘅活動。
Instead of just being caught in activities in a mode of ignorance and passion, they can elevate themselves to engage in activities in a mode of goodness.
咁咧，由佢哋本來係喺呢一個激情同埋愚昧屬性之下去活動咧，慢慢提升咧去到呢個善良屬性。
So the Vedas prescribe activities to elevate them to pious works.
咁咧，偉達文獻就會慢慢逐步提升呢啲人咧，令到佢哋咧從事一啲咧係虔誠嘅活動。
They can satisfy their material needs by worshipping particular demigods.
佢哋咧可以通過咧崇拜某個半神人咧，佢哋滿足一啲咧特定一啲佢哋想要嘅一啲物質嘅慾望。
Performing particular sacrifices.
譬如做一啲特別嘅祭祀啦。
And then in this way they can satisfy their material desires, but at the same time act according to an authoritarian system of the Vedas.
咁咧令到佢哋咧能夠咧一方面能滿足佢哋嘅物質慾望，亦都咧會根據偉達嘅系統嚟到去做呢啲活動。
Means to be law-abiding citizens. To be law-abiding citizens.
咁即係話咧，佢哋會成為一個遵守法律嘅一個嘅市民。
Who follow the rule of law.
就咧遵守神嘅法律。
Follow the Vedas. The Vedas are the law.
遵守咧呢個偉達啦，咁偉達咧就係神嘅一啲嘅法律啦。
So the purpose is that people by engaging in fruitive activities under the covering of the Vedas, they gradually become purified.
咁咧，當人係根據偉大經典呢一啲嘅教導嚟到去活動嘅話咧，佢慢慢咧就會得到淨化。
While they perform activities to satisfy a particular demigod, oftentimes in the mantras they chant in their sacrifices, they use the name of Vishnu, Om, Vishnu. It's always present. The word of Vishnu is always everywhere.
咁當佢哋去喺譬如某一日佢哋想滿足某一啲嘅慾望啦，就崇拜半神人啦，做一啲祭祀啦。咁喺當中咧，佢哋會念好多嘅曼陀，而入邊咧一定咧會包括咗譬如主 Vishnu 啦、Om 啦呢啲嘅名字。
Yeah. And even though they may not pay much attention, the fact is that they are pronouncing or hearing the name of the Lord.
雖然咧佢哋會並唔會咧係留心咧，其實佢哋喺度聆聽啦，同埋咧係念誦緊主嘅聖名。
And they get to know through the Brahmanas who conduct all these sacrifices, all these worships and everything, they get to know that the demigods are indirect suppliers. The real supplier is Lord Vishnu.
咁就係通過呢啲婆羅門嘅教導啦，呢人咧就會慢慢明白到，其實半神人咧只係咧係間接嘅供應者，真正嘅背後嘅供應者咧其實係至尊主 Vishnu。
So some people might start to worship directly Lord Vishnu, even though for fruitive intent.
咁所以有啲人咧就會雖然佢哋係為咗得到滿足嗰啲功利性嘅慾望啦，但佢都會咧慢慢開始咧係去崇拜主 Vishnu。
And that's not discouraged, even for material purpose, if you worship Vishnu, there is a great benefit.
咁所以咧，我哋唔會係唔鼓勵呢啲人咁樣做嘅。雖然佢哋係想得到啲滿足一啲功利性嘅活動啦、嘅慾望啦，但係佢哋如果佢咁樣去崇拜主 Vishnu 嘅話咧，佢哋仍然咧會得到好大嘅益處。
For those who are addicted to fruitive activities.
咁咧就係呢啲人咧，佢哋咧因為咧非常之依附呢啲物質功利性活動。
So gradually they can be elevated to the understanding that there is more than just sense gratification.
咁慢慢呢啲人咧就會明白到咧，其實唔單單咧，我哋淨係去滿足我哋嘅物質慾望。
More than sense gratification to obtain good benefits here, there are activities that allows us to get good benefits in heaven.
咁咧唔單止咧，我哋喺呢個地球嗰度咧，係滿足我哋嘅感官享樂啦，得到啲益處啦，而係咧更加高階嘅一啲天堂嘅星球咧，我哋亦都可以咧係喺嗰度咧得到好多嘅益處。
Like you see, in most religiosity, there is the worship of God with a means to obtain something that we want, something material.
咁咧就好似好多宗教咁樣啦，佢哋去崇拜神咧，其實好大嘅原因就係佢哋想咧係得到一啲滿足佢哋一啲物質嘅慾望。
And it works. If they worship properly, it works.
咁如果佢哋正確咁去崇拜主嘅話咧，呢個咧係可以係得嘅，係做得到嘅。
They get those material benefits they are looking for.
佢哋咧係會得到佢哋想得到嘅呢啲物質嘅慾望，可以滿足到嘅。
They got wealth, they get health, they get good progeny, they good families.
譬如佢哋想得到金錢啦，想得到健康啦，一個好嘅家庭啦，好嘅後代等等。
And eventually they're going to be promoted to heaven.
咁最後咧，佢哋咧會提升到咧去到天堂嘅星球，
where they can enjoy without much trouble.
咁喺嗰度咧，佢哋可以咧係冇乜痛苦、冇乜麻煩咁樣去享受。
They don't even need to perform any sacrifices.
喺嗰度咧，佢甚至唔需要再做一啲祭祀啦。
Everything comes for free.
每一樣嘢都係免費嘅。
So there is this enticement is there.
Sorry?
This enticement in the Vedas is there that if you work nice, you can be promoted to heaven, you can have good holidays.
咁所以咧喺偉大文獻入邊咧係有提到一樣嘢，就係如果你係好好咁樣去做呢啲活動嘅話咧，你就會咧係去到呢個天堂星球啦，就好似享受你嘅假期咁樣。
There's no much trouble, right, to go to heaven.
去到天堂星球你就冇乜煩惱噶啦。
Well, no much trouble, but there is trouble also.
雖然係少咗煩惱，但仍然係有煩惱。
Sometimes the demons occupy heaven.
有陣時咧，唔同嘅惡魔咧，佢哋會霸咗呢個天堂星球。
So in heaven, it's not always peaceful.
咁就算喺天堂星球咧，都唔係成日都咁和平嘅。
So they start realizing that, wow, even in heaven we have trouble. So
於是咧，佢就開始明白到啦，就算去到天堂星球，仍然都有麻煩噶噃。
But they are becoming purified, right? They are coming to the mode of goodness.
但佢哋咧係因為被提升到去到呢個善良屬性啦，所以佢哋都係得到淨化。
And one good benefit of being in the mode of goodness is that we are more receptive to transcendental knowledge.
咁而其中一個好處咧，當你處喺呢個善良屬性當中咧，就我哋咧更加容易咧係接受呢一啲嘅靈性嘅知識。
In mode of ignorance and passion is very difficult.
咁如果係身處喺呢個激情同埋愚昧屬性咧，呢個係非常之困難嘅。
Sometimes you may wonder why I've been studying so many books. Why I'm not learning so much? 有陣時我哋會懷疑點解我哋讀咗咁多書，但係我哋都好似乜都冇學到咁嘅。Because we are still influenced by modes of passion and ignorance. 因為我哋咧仍然咧係受到呢個愚昧同埋激情屬性所影響。So yes, the Vedas prescribe so many fruitive, sacrifices to perform fruitive activities for selfish interest. 咁所以咧喺偉大文獻入邊咧係描述好多嘅呢啲祭祀咧，係去滿足我哋一啲咧係自己嘅呢一啲嘅物質慾望。But the aim is to help people to progress. 咁但係個目的咧，其實係希望啲人咧可以進步。But I mean, for us in Kali Yuga, where we have a duration of life which is just so short. 咁喺卡年代咧，人嘅壽命咧係非常之短。To go through all this Vedic process is practically impossible. 咁而我哋要經過晒呢一啲嘅偉大嘅過程咧，其實根本係冇乜可能嘅。Srila Vyasadeva was compiling the scriptures for people in Kali Yuga. 咁咧，Vyasadeva 咧佢係編撰呢啲文獻咧，係俾卡年代嘅人。Before was even no need of compiling anything. 咁喺之前咧，根本咧就唔需要咧去編撰一啲經典。Knowledge was available given by the great sages, saintly devotees. They were just propagating knowledge, and people by hearing they would retain that knowledge. 咁咧，通過喺以前咧，通過聖人啦，佢哋咧根本咧就係就將呢啲知識係傳播開去。咁而人咧只需要聆聽咧，就能夠咧係接收到呢啲嘅超然嘅知識。But in Kali Yuga, people have no brains. 咁但係喺卡年代，人係冇腦嘅。Cow dung inside the brain. 可能入邊淨係得牛糞。 well, if it would be just cow dung, would be not so bad.
咁如果淨係得牛糞都唔係咁壞啫。
But people in Kali Yuga have no brains.
咁咧喺卡年代咧，人係冇呢個腦袋嘅。
So that's why Srila Vyasadeva put everything into written form.
咁所以點解 Vyasadeva 咧將所有呢啲知識咧係變成一啲文字？
Modern anthropologists, they said that civilization began when man started writing something.
咁人類學家咧就講啦，文化呢個人嘅文化咧係由開始有文字開始嘅。
When they start expressing themselves in a written form.
當人咧係用文字咧嚟到表達佢自己。
But it's exactly the opposite.
但係呢個咧就係正咧就係偉大概念入邊嘅相反。
Human civilization start become degraded when they had the need to have written forms.
當人係需要咧呢一個文字嘅版本去學習知識嘅時候咧，人咧就開始咧係墮落。
So that's why Narada Muni is pointing out why Srila Vyasadeva first of all was dissatisfied, and Narada Muni is pointing out.
咁所以喺度咧，Narada Muni咧就指出咧點解咧 Vyasadeva 雖然佢編撰咁多偉大文獻咧，仍然咧係唔滿足唔快樂。
To go through all this very slow process of upgrading oneself, of progressing oneself is very, very slow.
咁咧，因為要好似喺偉大文獻入邊所講，要去提升一個人咧，通過所有呢啲過程咧，係非常非常之慢。
Besides, we don't live in an atmosphere that is very conducive to practice this Vedic knowledge.
而我哋而家身處嘅年代咧，亦都唔係對我哋去收集呢一啲偉大入邊嘅呢一啲嘅活動咧，係一啲都係唔適合嘅，係冇利嘅。
We are living in an atmosphere that is surrounded by ugra karma, very horrible activities.
因為我哋而家身處嘅呢個社會啊，呢個年代咧，係全部咧係被一啲非常之恐怖一啲好罪惡嘅活動所包圍住。
So yes, all this knowledge of the Vedas do not apply. Is not so helpful in Kali Yuga.
咁所以喺卡年代咧，呢一啲偉大嘅知識咧，並唔係咁能夠幫到我哋。
So some remedial measure had to be taken.
咁所以咧，需要有啲補救嘅方法。
Something that immediately would shake off the individual soul within the material body.
咁有啲咧係有啲方法能夠即刻咧將個體靈魂咧係可以咧將佢整乾淨，身上唔好嘅嘢咧都可以清除。
And Narada Muni went straight to point what was his problem.
咁樣 Narada Muni 咧直接指出咧究竟 Vyasadeva 有啲咩問題。
You just wrote things that to increase their attachment to material existence.
咁 Narada Muni 就同 Vyasadeva 講：你只係寫咗啲嘢咧，係令到人咧係更加咧依附佢哋嘅物質嘅慾望。
Or the best to have some transcendental knowledge about their spiritual existence.
最多咧就令佢哋明白到佢哋係一個靈性嘅存在。
But even transcendental knowledge about Brahman is not sufficient.
咁咧，就算咧係呢個非人格梵 Brahman 嘅呢一個知識咧，其實咧都唔足夠。
To understand that we are spiritual, you are not material, is not sufficient.
淨係明白咧，我哋唔係物質嘅，我哋係靈性嘅，呢個係唔足夠嘅。
Because this knowledge of Brahman might bring a person become interested to impersonal liberation.
因為呢一個咧，淨係令到人明白到佢係一個非人格呢個 Brahman 嘅概念咧，係可能令到人帶去一個非人格神嘅方面。
It's already liberation, right? You're already free from material existence.
係啊，冇錯，佢係咧係已經係得到解脫咧，係超越呢一個物質嘅存在。
But it's liberation without any activity.
但係呢個咧係冇任何活動嘅解脫。
So that cannot completely satisfy the self.
呢個咧亦都冇辦法令到一個自我咧係完全去滿足。
It's like you are caught with pipes and tubes in the hospital.
就好似咧係你喺醫院度咧係身上面插咗好多喉管一樣。
What we wish at that time.
我哋喺嗰一刻，我哋希望可以點樣咧
？Just to be freed from all that and be healthy, right?
我哋淨係希望咧，哎呀，唔好再有呢啲喉管喺我身上，淨係希望得到健康。
To be liberated from that miserable position.
咁咧就係由呢個咁痛苦嘅位置當中咧得到解脫。
But to be free from the hospital, to be discharged from the hospital or liberation is not the goal.
但係咧，純粹係由醫院嗰度出院啦，或者我哋所講嘅解脫咧，並唔係我哋嘅最終嘅目標。
A person wants to go back to the family and engage in activities, in relationships.
咁呢個人咧係希望咧能夠翻返去家庭啦，同一啲建立翻一啲關係咧嚟到去活動。
So this is what Narada Muni is pointing out.
呢度咧就係 Narada Muni 咧所指出嘅嘢啦。
You have to describe about the Supreme Lord and His activities.
咁所以咧，你咧必須係要描述至尊主啦，同埋佢嘅活動。
And how the living entity can also engage in activities of devotion to satisfy the Supreme Lord.
同埋咧係人咧點樣能夠咧係參與呢一啲嘅奉愛嘅服務咧，係去滿足、去取悅至尊主。
Then they can be completely satisfied.
如果係咁嘅話咧，佢哋就可以完全滿足啦。
Any other occupation can never give complete satisfaction.
任何其他嘅活動咧，工作咧都冇辦法咧係令到人咧係完全滿
Because
足。
by constitution we are eternal servants of Krishna. We are active beings.
因為我哋嘅本質咧，我哋係至尊主嘅永恆嘅僕人啦，而我哋都係活躍嘅。
Even in immaterial life, we cannot be inactive.
就算喺物質嘅生活入邊咧，我哋都唔可以咧係唔活動。
Sometimes it would be better if they would be inactive.
咁當然啦，有時候咧，我哋可能咧唔去活動咧係好啲嘅。
What is the four classes of people? Four classes of people. There are four classes of people.
咁咧人有四類。
One is active ignorant.
咁有啲咧係好無知嘅，但係非常之活躍嘅。
Is ignorant but is very active means it does only does stupid things.
佢係好無知，但係非常之活躍。咁即係話咧，佢淨係做啲好愚蠢嘅嘢。
Better than that is to be a lazy ignorant.
咁如果比佢好啲嘅人咧，好一啲嘅第二類咧，就係佢係好懶嘅，但係咧就佢係好無知，但係佢好懶。
Is ignorant but at least does not create any harm because is lazy.
咁即係話咧，佢雖然係無知啦，但係因為佢好懶啦，起碼咧佢唔會做出任何一啲唔好嘅嘢。
And then is the active intelligent. Active intelligent.
咁第三類咧就係有智慧又好活躍嘅人。
That's what we should be.
即係我呢個咧，我就應該係呢一類人。
Intelligent.
我哋有智慧，亦都係非常之活躍。
But the highest is lazy intelligent.
第四最高階咧就係懶惰，有智慧而又懶惰嘅人。
We don't need to do much, but you can advance spiritually and you can engage others.
咁我哋咧唔需要做太多嘢，但我哋咧係能夠得到靈性嘅知識啦，亦都可以咧係令到其他人咧可以一樣去參與。
Srila Prabhupada gives the example of the judge in a high court.
The judge in the high court. 咁咧，聖帕帕就舉個例子咧，就係喺呢個高等法院入邊咧，呢一個嘅法官。
He seems not be doing anything, right?
佢表面上好似乜都冇做嘅。
The pleaders and the prosecutors.
個主控官啦，同埋個控辯雙方就喺度不斷喺度講嘢。
And the judge is there. Sometimes seems he's almost dozing.
咁咧就個法官淨係坐喺度啫，甚至有陣時你覺得佢咧喺度瞌緊眼瞓。
But he's the one who's going to give the final verdict, right?
咁但係咧佢係俾最後嘅呢個判詞嘅人。
So we should be at least active, intelligent.
咁我最少咧，我哋都要咧係有智慧啦，而又係活躍嘅人。
As opposed to active ignorant.
就好點都好過咧，係成為一個係無知而又活躍嘅人。
So fruitive work is not for us.
咁咧，功利性活動咧並唔係對我哋嘅。
Sense gratification, Srila Prabhupada said, is for the birds.
感官享樂咧，聖帕帕講咧，感官享樂係俾雀仔嘅。
Yes, in 8 million forms of life, we can have 8 million varieties of sense gratification.
咁有800萬種嘅生物體啦，亦都有800萬種嘅去感官享樂。
Sometimes we wonder why so many species of life.
有時我會諗啊，點解有咁多唔同種類、唔同品種嘅生物體咧？
8 millions are species, and then there are varieties in each species.
咁咧，我哋話有800萬種生物體啦，但品種啦，但係每個品種入邊咧都有啲唔同嘅。
These are different varieties of sense enjoyment.
呢啲咧就係唔同種類嘅感官享樂。
Every species of life has a particular type of sense enjoyment.
每一個唔同嘅品種咧，生物體嘅唔同嘅品種咧，都有一個特別嘅感官享樂。
And without incurring any karmic reaction.
咁咧就係為咗唔去增加我哋嘅一啲功利性活動嘅業報。
That's why all these forms of life are meant to given to the soul a huge range of facilities for material enjoyment.
咁所以每一種生物體咧，都係被賦予咧好多唔同嘅方法咧，去滿足佢哋嘅感官享樂。
Human beings cannot compete with these lower species in terms of their particular sense gratification.
咁所以咧，人類咧根本同呢一啲比較低等嘅生物體咧係冇得比嘅喺感官享樂方面。
Like you may like to sleep, right?
譬如咧，我哋中意瞓覺。
We like to sleep.
我哋好中意瞓覺。
But how much can we sleep?
但我哋可以瞓幾多咧
？A bear can sleep for 4 months straight.
一隻熊人咧可以咧係連續不斷咁樣咧係瞓4個月。
How much you can eat?
你可以食幾多嘢咧
？3 meals a day and limited, you know.
咁最多你一日食3餐就已經
A pig eats all day long, anything he likes.
咁咧，但係一隻豬咧可以咧成日不停喺度食嘢，食
And
咩嘢
everything
都
is
得。
delicious.
所有嘢
We
對呢
make
隻
choices. I prefer this, I prefer that. But the pigs, they don't make choices. Everything is delicious.
對一隻豬嚟講咧，所有嘢都係美味嘅。人可能會話啊，呢啲好食，呢啲好食，但係對一隻豬嚟講咧，咩嘢都好食嘅。
But we don't want to be in this lower species of life anymore.
但我哋咧再唔想咧係投生喺一啲低等嘅生物嗰度。
Because it's a miserable life.
因為咧呢啲都係咧充滿咗痛苦嘅生活。
So coming to a human form of life and try to enjoy the same sense gratification that we already enjoy is crazy.
咁咧，如果我哋係喺一個人嘅形象嘅生命入邊啦，但係仍然去享受一啲咧係我哋以前好中意嘅感官享樂嘅話咧，其實呢個咧係一個好瘋狂嘅行為。
And Srila Prabhupada said, this is what most people are engaged in.
咁聖帕巴講啦，但係大部分嘅人咧，絕大部分人咧都係做緊呢啲。
And is always painful.
但係你永遠都係痛苦嘅。
Either in the beginning or at the end is always painful.
無論係開始啦，直至到終結咧，成個過程都係痛苦嘅。
People are in so much anxiety to obtain something.
人咧為咗得到啲嘢咧，佢充滿咗焦慮。
You know, so much anxiety to make money, to be successful, so much anxiety.
人咧係
So
想
much stress.
得到金錢啦，想成功啦，我哋有好多嘅焦慮，好多嘅壓力。
And then they may get something. They may get the result of their hard work.
結果咧，佢哋可能會得到咧，係佢哋想得到嘅，通過佢哋咁努力嘅工作咧，得到想得到嘅嘢。
But they are not free from anxiety.
但係佢哋仍然咧係充滿咗焦慮。
Now they are in anxiety to keep it.
因為咧，佢哋咧係為咗要保存呢啲嘢咧，就充滿咗焦
Nobody is
慮。
going to take it away.
冇人可以攞走佢哋所擁
You're
有
not
嘅
going
嘢。
to have losses.
佢唔想咧係失去呢啲嘢。
But eventually you're going to lose.
但係最終咧，你仍然會失去
And again
嘅。
you feel miserable.
跟住於是你又好痛苦啦。
So it's always miserable.
所以咧，永遠都係咁痛苦。
Anything that is conducive for sense gratification, it gives always misery.
任何嘢咧係令到我哋去從事一個感官享樂咧，都係痛苦嘅。
That's why sense gratification equals misery.
咁所以點解我哋話咧，感官享樂咧係等同痛苦？
Always remember that.
我哋咧要恆常都要記住呢一點。
There's no benefit in sense gratification.
感官享樂唔會帶俾我哋任何嘅益處。
Only if we work for the sense gratification of the Supreme Lord.
唯有就我哋咧係為咗至尊主嘅感官享樂而去活動咧。
Because this is our constitutional position.
因為呢個係我哋原本嘅身份。
Being part and parcels of the Lord, our senses are also part and parcel of the Lord's senses.
一個不可分割嘅微小嘅一部分啦，而我哋嘅感官咧，亦都係一樣係至尊主嘅一個不可分割微小嘅一個感官。
If we engage in devotional activities, means for the pleasure of the Lord, we experience the same amount of happiness as the Lord experiences.
咁所以我哋咧，如果係去為咗滿足至尊主而去從事呢啲嘅奉愛服務嘅話咧，我哋所感受到嘅快樂咧，係等同咧至尊主所感受到嘅快樂。
Yes, we have the right, and you should pursue happiness.
咁我哋咧係有呢個權利咧，係去追尋呢個快樂。
Once a reporter asked Srila Prabhupada, "What is the purpose of your society?"
咁有一次咧，有個記者就問聖巴巴啦：你呢個組織呢個目的係乜嘢咧？
And Srila Prabhupada answered, very simple.
咁咧，聖巴巴用一個好簡單嘅答案，
Is to make you happy.
就係咧令到你快樂。
Because everybody wants to be happy.
因為每一個人咧都想得到快樂，
You want to be happy,
你都想快樂㗎。
but you don't know how to be happy.
但你唔知道點樣先可以咧係變得快樂。
So we're teaching the right process to be happy.
咁我哋咧教導你一個正確嘅方法咧去變得快樂。
Should be a mantra for book distribution. You want to be happy. Everybody likes to be happy.
咁就好似咧，
Here is the method how to become
我哋
happy.
去派書咧，咁就可以問嗰啲人啦。你係咪想得到快樂咧？每一個人都想快樂㗎喎。嗱，呢本書就可以咧教你點樣可以得到真正嘅快樂。
If you approach a Hong Kong person, he's going to say no time.
咁如果你問香港人咧，就話我冇時間，我太忙。
No time to be happy.
我哋甚至咧冇時間咧去得到快樂。
So yes, we are not meant for sense gratification anymore.
咁我哋咧唔應該咧係再從事呢個感官享樂。
And fruitive activities that are not meant to satisfy the senses of the Lord only bound us to continuous material existence.
感官享樂咧係唔會滿足至尊主嘅感官嘅，只會咧令到我哋更加咧係捆綁喺呢個物質世界。
Even if you go up to heaven and all that, it does not solve the real problem.
咁就算我哋係提升去到天堂星球咧，都解決唔到真正嘅問題。
So Narada Muni is a devotee, right?
咁 Narada Muni 係一個奉獻者啦。
And if Narada Muni interferes, means he's going to give bhakti, he's going to go straight to the point.
咁 Narada Muni 喺度咧係幫助呢個 Vyasadeva 就去到直接去到咧係奉愛呢一點。
Don't distract people reading other things.
咁咧唔好再去誤導其他人啦，呢個咧唔係我哋想
Give
要
them
嘅
the
嘢。
right substance. Give them bhakti.
要俾咧一啲正確嘅嘢佢哋，俾佢哋奉愛。
Give them the opportunity to get out of this material existence and go back to Kṛṣṇa.
俾個機會佢哋咧係離開呢一個物質世界、物質嘅存在啦，令我哋回歸守神。
Every time we see Narada Muni appearing means he's going to give the package.
咁咧，
Bhakti
你每一次你見到 Narada Muni 出現咧，即係話咧，佢咧都會將呢整份嘢咧就會俾人嘅，
He's
就係奉愛。
not going to entertain people with other things.
佢咧唔會咧淨係佢唔會冇嘢，即係唔會話乜都唔俾人咧去娛樂佢
And
哋。
Srila Prabhupada is in the same mood.
而聖巴巴咧同樣係一個同樣嘅
When
心
he
水。
writes his purpose, he always goes straight to the point.
咁當佢寫佢嘅要旨嘅時候咧，永遠都係咧直接了當、單刀直入咁去到呢一點。
Fruitive work may be offered for the service of the Lord, otherwise it leads to material bondage.
咁咧，我哋可以將呢個公正性活動咧係獻俾至尊主。如果唔係咧，就會令到我哋咧係受到呢個物質存在嘅
The
捆綁。
bona fide enjoyer of the fruitive work is the personality of Godhead.
真正嘅去享受呢啲公正性活動嘅人咧係至尊主。
And thus one it is engaged for the sense gratification, but if he's engaged for the sense gratification of living beings, it becomes an acute source of trouble.
咁但係當我哋將呢啲公正性活動咧用喺人嘅呢個感官享樂當中咧，呢個就會帶俾我哋咧係好多嘅麻煩同埋痛苦。
At least in the other species of life, they don't suffer karmic reaction.
咁喺其他嘅生物種品種入邊咧，佢哋係最起碼咧唔會咧有呢個業報嘅反應。
As sometimes people would not mind to become birds again.
咁有啲人咧就話佢哋唔介意咧再次成為雀仔，
It seems that they are enjoying so much,
因為
right?
佢哋咧係可以得到好多嘅享受。
But it's a flickering enjoyment.
但係呢啲咧係一啲好飄忽不穩定嘅享受。
Of course, compared with many human beings, it looks great.
咁但係當然啦，比起好多對比好多人嘅生活咧，呢個已經係一個非常之好嘅嘢啦。
But we are meant for much more than just little happiness.
但我哋咧並唔係咧係 淨係咧係想得到少少嘅快樂。
Happiness that is always followed by some anxiety, some distress.
呢啲快樂咧，永遠之後咧都會俾我哋好多嘅一啲焦慮啦，好多嘅唔開心。
We are meant to fulfill the aim, the purpose of human life.
我哋咧係應該咧係能夠咧係達到人生嘅真正嘅目標。
Never take birth again in the material world.
就係呢個唔再投生喺呢個物質世界。
Not by going to Brahman.
並唔係咧，淨係去到梵嗰度。
Because in Brahman we're going to be bored.
因為喺梵嗰度咧，我哋會好悶嘅。
You have nothing to do all day long.
我哋成日都乜嘢都冇嘢做。
You're going to feel very bored.
你會非常之苦悶。
Because Brahman, there is no activity.
因為喺梵當中咧係冇任何嘅活動嘅。
Might be good in the beginning, like if you have a few days free, it's good, right?
咁可能一開始嘅時候你都會覺得 OK 嘅，可能頭嗰幾日咧都幾好啊。
But if you have all the time free, you start feeling disturbed because we don't have engagement.
咁但係如果成日都係咁嘅話咧，你就會好受騷擾啦，因為咧咁我哋咧係無所事事。
Sometimes people feel very awkward when they have time free.
咁有啲人咧，當佢有一啲空閒嘅時間咧，佢會覺得好唔自然啊。
Of course, the devotees have never free time.
咁但係對奉獻者嚟講，我哋永遠都冇呢一啲空閒嘅時間。
Always something to do.
梗有啲嘢要做嘅。
And that's good.
咁呢個係好嘅。
That's liberation with activity.
咁呢個咧係充滿咗活動嘅解脫。
And this is what devotional service is about.
呢個咧亦都係咧就係我哋要做嘅奉愛服務。
Any question or comment?
大家有冇任何
I heard we have to finish early because people have to start preparing
有冇問題或者
for the program.
意見？因為我哋今日咧要早少少完。
Any question, any comment, any reflection? Everything understood. No doubt.
有冇懷疑？有冇疑問？有冇
Nice to see you. Thank you. No doubts.
I have a question.
No opposition.
有冇人反對？
Yeah.
If the devotee is engaged to pure devotional service, he don't disturb about how is maintained his body, his relative. It's true or not true?
Well, anxiety is
Sorry,
still...
let me translate. Yeah. 咁當個奉獻者佢係喺度做緊純粹奉獻服務嘅時候，佢係咪唔會受佢嘅身體，譬如佢點樣維繫嘅身體所影響嘅、所騷擾咧？
Well, if you're not a pure devotee, anxiety is always there.
如果我哋唔係一個純粹奉獻者咧，我永遠都有焦慮嘅。
But in that anxiety, we learn how to depend more on Kṛṣṇa.
咁但係咧喺呢啲焦慮當中咧，我哋學習咧點樣咧係更加去依靠至尊主。
Because we realize that on our own we cannot do much.
因為我哋明白到咧，我哋根本咧係做唔到好多嘢。
Yeah, but if you are not, if you're not pure devotee, you still have anxiety for those things.
咁但係如果我哋唔係仲未係一個純粹奉獻者，我哋會受呢啲嘢所影響。
But it's already a different type of anxiety.
但係呢個咧已經係另一種嘅焦慮。
Because it's for devotional life, you can maintain devotee family, to engage in so many devotional activities at home.
呢一個係另外一種焦慮啦，因為我哋會擔心我哋要維繫我哋嘅一個奉愛嘅家庭啦，我哋要做好多唔同嘅奉愛服務啦，等等。
And in that anxiety, we depend on Kṛṣṇa.
咁喺呢一種嘅焦慮當中咧，我哋咧係依靠至尊主。
So as long as there is dependence on Kṛṣṇa, that's healthy.
只要我哋咧係依靠至尊主咧，呢個係一個健康嘅。
Even if it's for material benefits.
就算咧，我哋嘅目的係希望得到一啲物質上嘅好益處，但係呢個都係好嘅健康嘅。
Devotees in general are not ambitious materially.
咁咧一般嚟講咧，奉獻者咧喺物質方面咧都唔係好有野心。
Unless if they are engaged in some project for Kṛṣṇa, then they can be ambitious.
咁當然啦，如果我哋係從事一啲咧係同 Kṛṣṇa 有關嘅一啲嘅計劃當中，佢哋可以咧係有野心。
But for their own maintenance, they are not ambitious.
但係對維繫我哋自己咧，就並唔係咁有呢個野心。
They just want their needs met.
咁我哋只係希望咧，我哋嘅需要咧係能夠即係滿足到我哋嘅簡單嘅需要。
The Brahmanas would only only gather as much as they need for the day.
好似個婆羅門咧，佢淨係咧會收集佢今日所需要嘅嘢。
They don't think, oh, what about tomorrow?
佢哋唔會諗哦，咁聽日點咧
Of？ course, now we are not so much like that. We think about tomorrow and the
咁
day
當然啦，我
after
哋而
tomorrow.
家咧就唔係咁即係一樣咯。我哋會諗啊，聽日我哋都會諗埋聽日嘅。
But it will come a stage where we will become totally, free from anxiety and depend on the Lord.
咁但係咧都會有一日咧，我哋會去到呢個階段咧，就我哋會完全咧係冇焦慮啦，我哋完全咧係依靠至尊主。
You just came in the end to close the doors. So that's why Krishna says, I maintain what they have and I preserve what they need.
咁所以咧，點解Kṛṣṇa 喺霍家法王嗰邊講啦？我會維係佢哋所擁有嘅嘢，亦都會咧係俾佢哋所需要嘅嘢。
And he does that personally.
而佢亦都係親自咧係去做。
So we just have to trust that Krishna always has a good arrangement.
咁所以我哋咧必須咧要相信咧，Kṛṣṇa 永遠都會對我哋有最好嘅安排。
Tejas Prabhu comes from a country where they are throwing bombs to kill people.
咁咧 Tejas Prabhu 係喺一個由一個係會用炸彈去炸死其他人嘅國家度嚟。
And he's here to distribute bombs to kill people's material desires.
咁但係喺度咧就係要派呢啲炸彈咧去清除咧人嘅呢啲嘅物質慾望。
Prabhupada said these books are time bombs.
咁Prabhupada有講過啦，呢啲書咧係一個計時炸彈。
Eventually they're gonna destroy people's material desires.
最終咧佢哋咧會咧摧毀咧人嘅物質慾望。
So this is the proper way of throwing bombs, right?
呢個咧係一個正確去放炸彈嘅方法。
Killing people's material
就係咧
attachments.
去殺死咧人嘅物質慾望。
Wow. Haribo.
Haribo.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Śrimad Bhagāvatam ki jai.
Jai.
Kṛṣṇa Baladeva Prabhu ki
Jai.